So with the things that kind of crept up last week in Seattle on the special team side, just what stood out to you about what was workable throughout this week?
So the two things that we put a big emphasis on was communication and leverage. And, so I think that we went and how we practiced, we just kind of got a couple more reps at some full cover reps in the punt and, put it just back to the emphasis on over communicating and that sort of deal. And I'm excited. We've had really 2 good days of practice and, we got to go have another good day tomorrow and put that thing together. And honestly, like our guys are just excited to get to Sunday right now so we can get that bad taste out of our mouth. They know how we played is unacceptable. And, there's a lot of guys, myself included, it starts with me, that we're embarrassed by our performance, and we can't wait to get back on the field and go show what we can do.
Leverage, what do you mean by leverage when you say?
I mean leverage in the coverage game. So, a lot of times there's right and left side players, and you're trying to keep the ball on your inside shoulder from the left and the right side. And so we got to do a better job of that in the coverage aspect.
The communication side was relative to, or was more related to the punt block situation there, to where
it relates to everything. Honestly, it relates to all phases. From a communication on the punt, yes. Even in the leverage part of it, in coverage, communication, verbal and nonverbal comes into play because the way the play plays out, sometimes one guy gets out and the other guy's getting held up back towards the line more, and you got to be able to adjust and get to your lanes in that way. And so communicating those and getting them corrected.
Everybody has to do their 111, but is what we're seeing an effect of maybe losing a guy with the quality that JT Gray had?
Look, we're not going to make any excuses. JT is a great player, and he's not here, and there's nothing that we can do about that. And we have plenty good enough players that are on our team that have played well the first 2 games for us, and we just got to get back to playing good football. And we had a bad day, and it was unacceptable, and we got to make sure that we don't do that again.
Flake's been missing a few kicks now. What's been going on with his routine?
His routine's been the same. He went last week in practice 100%. He kicked yesterday. He went 100%. We'll kick again tomorrow with him. And unfortunately, he just had a miss. But his routine's been the same. And his routine, throughout his career has been successful. So it's just a matter of when the opportunity comes to make the kick.
Is it like an operational issue?
It is not an operational issue, no.
Has there been a common theme in the 3 misses at all?
There has not been, no. Other than that, they didn't go through the uprights.
Can you say what happened in particular on the block? Was the punt block? Was it did the guy end up blocking just come unblocked on that?
He did come unblocked. Yes, he did.
Is that like something where you want to have a guy on him, or sometimes that by like the design of the play? Where
no, we're supposed to have a guy on him. That's why our miscommunication came up. There was supposed to be someone blocking him.
Just generally, but I think only 20% of, slightly higher, Kai Kroger's kicks have been down inside the 20. Do you like to see that number increase? How do you feel about kind of that area of the field?
Yeah, look, that's an opportunity when it presents itself. It's often where he's punting from, right? So you're not going to down the ball inside the 20 when you're backed up further. But when you get closer towards midfield, then you have the opportunity for that to come up. So I think that's just more of a situation of the yard line he's punting from.
The concept of out-kicking the coverage has almost become like a cliche, but I mean, is that something that punters have the strength to kick a 60-yard punt like that, but they're trying not to do that whenever possible, or is that punt okay?
Listen, the punt was an average punt from when you hit the ball 60 yards we had him at 4.48 on his hang time. So if you're gonna hit the punt that's going to be 60 yards, we need it to be more in the 4.7, 4.8 range. So we didn't get just enough hang time to buy a little bit more time for our coverage to get there. So is it a bad punt? No, but that's not exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to get more hang time on that. His location was excellent. We're just trying to get a little more hang time on the ball.
Do you ask for more time on the field after a game where you have a couple mistakes? What is the process of maybe just correcting it?
Yeah, look, we did. We met and kind of just discussed a couple things that we thought we needed to get done this week, and so we added a couple minutes to each meeting. We added a minute or two of practice so we can get another full cover rep. So hopefully those things will pay off, and we'll continue to keep doing that. All good? Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
There are a lot of them. You know, he's one of the complete players in the league. I think every year he's been in it, he's just gotten better and better. And I think just operating the offense at such a high level, I think pre-snap, he's so experienced now, so he's seen so much, and I think you can see it by how he's playing. His early down efficiency is as good as anybody. I think last year, one of the things that really elevated his game was just how fast he played on the early downs, and then he put so much pressure on you on third down and in the red zone and stuff like that. But I felt like the early downs, the decision making, just playing really, really fast, and as a result, the offense plays really fast, extremely explosive. He's distributing the ball to everybody. Everybody is a threat to touch the ball, and I think that's a sign of a good offense and a good quarterback. And I think people think of him for the spectacular, and there's plenty of that, but I think he's just playing the position at a high level. And he brings a lot of intangibles to the position, too, the energy that he plays with, the physicality and toughness. So he's a great player. Joe Brady and that group, Aaron Cromer, they do a great job putting it together, and they play the right way.
What are you seeing from Kool-Aid right now? It seems like he's right there to make like there, but it's there's just been some completions and stuff.
Yeah, I think Kool-Aid's playing well, playing solid. We're really pleased with how he's playing. I think his coverage in all three games has been close. He's been connected. There's been a couple in the deep part of the field that people are going to focus on. That's living life in the NFL. But as a defense, we've been outstanding in the passing game in terms of explosive plays. And, you know, the two guys that caught passes on him are good players. But I'm really pleased with his progress, how he was in training camp. I think he's carrying it over. He's won a lot of tough downs, too. And now he just needs to continue to improve. He just needs to play more. But we have a lot of confidence in him.
What you walk away thinking of Quincy Riley's debut on defense?
Yeah, I thought a solid performance. It was good to get him that amount of snaps, and I thought he looked like he belonged. Certainly the play there at the end, the forced fumble, was a great sign, a great trigger play. No hesitation, which is what we really believe in. There was no hesitation, and he went for it and made a big play for us. And so it was a good first outing for him, and now just got to continue to improve on the practice field.
What is it that you like about Stallberg? We saw him pretty early in the game, I think on a third down rush package maybe. What do you like about why you get him in there?
Yeah, he's got some dynamic qualities for those space downs, those loose play downs. He can really run, and not only can he tackle in space, but he can rush. So I think he gives you speed and zone defense. He can cover man-to-man, and he can rush. So we're just trying to find ways to feature some guys. And, you saw in that first possession, made a real impactful play. So he's continuing to do a good job on special teams, and hopefully we can continue to find him roles on defense.
Shifting back more towards like heavier personnel, or is that just kind of like the first four teams that you guys are kind of seeing here?
Yeah, we have to be among the leaders in base defense played. Really that was just the schedule. The first three opponents they play a lot of base groupings, so it's been fun to play base defense again. We were joking as a staff, we've played as much of 4 DB defenses, which we would consider base defense. So we've been able to rumble a little bit in the run game, and it's kind of a throwback in that way. But and Buffalo's similar. They'll play the bigger groupings too, with Aaron and Joe and that group. They do a good job featuring their tight end group. They have a good fullback. So again, it'll probably be another one of those games.
How does that kind of challenge when teams are built more for like nickel and dime, and you are seeing like so much base? Like, what challenge does that present?
Yeah, I mean, I think the structure of your defense. It used to be where you start in base defense and then get to nickel, where now it's almost different than that, where you're starting in a 5 DB world, and 4 DB defenses are becoming more extinct. So I think the fact that we in training camp get to play so much of it, I think is an advantage. If you just are playing against an 11 team, it's hard to practice your base defense. So we are fortunate here, we get to practice it, and so we're more prepared for it. And then our personnel here, we're engineered where we can play it and feel confident in it. So, I just think the league is always trending in cycles, but I think all the offensive coaches would tell you if they can have a good O-line and a good tight end group, that's going to give them more options. So the tight end group really can help you be diverse on offense for sure.
How disappointing is it not to have Chase Young so far this season? What is his absence meant for what you might want to do with the pass rush?
I'm just disappointed for him, number one, because he had such an outstanding training camp. He was one of our best players, throughout the whole camp. He was dynamic, in all of the scrimmages and all the, the practice against the Rams. I thought when he played in the preseason against Denver, he showed his quality. So, we just got to be patient right now. But certainly he's going to add a dimension to our defense, and we're going to be excited for it. He's working hard to get back, and we'll all be excited when he's suiting up for us again.
He's dealt with injuries in the past, but was very healthy here last season, and now is kind of dealing with this. Do you have to do anything with him just to kind of keep the confidence and up and the frustration away, or like how does he handle it? How does he handle that?
I think as he's gotten older, he's become wiser and more patient. But he also knows the quality that he put on tape during training camp, and I think that is his confidence. It's the silent tape. And he's been out there, and he got to play against the Rams, who's a quality team, and he went out there against Denver, which is a quality team, and then he knows what he did in practice for us. So I think he has really, really high confidence. His patience is being tested, and hopefully we get him back soon.
You were talking about the Bills' heavy personnel. Just what are the challenges of facing this run attack that they have?
Yeah, they run the ball a lot of different ways, out of different personnel groupings, and every single one literally every single one you can think of. And then when you factor in that they play 3 really good runners and their quarterback is a part of that equation, then you're going to get premium, production. And right now, Cook is as good as there is, in the league in terms of production, run game and pass game. And they find really good roles for the other runners too. And then certainly Josh is such a weapon. So the fact that they are effective running it, I was with Aaron Cromer and LA with the Rams, and he's as good as it gets in the league in designing a run game. They, like I said, they play the right way, and we're going to have to be at our best on Sunday.
James Cook's ability to reverse field, cut back, and so how does that challenge you? How do you prepare for something like that?
Well, I think they've trained him really well there. I think he really trusts his tracks. He really trusts the intent of the play and where it's going. So you can see that he's very in sync with the O-line and the tight ends. And so he's got dynamic quality on his own, but I also think there's an element to the discipline of him on his tracks, and then that leads to even more production. So I've been impressed with that. And he's got that ability to, when he sees the cut, he gets there fast. And I think that leads to more yards. And he's got really good balance and body control. He's got a really good center of gravity, and he forces a lot of missed tackles.
What have you seen in Jonas Anchor's positives?
I think that he's fast. I think there's trigger there where he can get to plays that you need to be able to get to at safety. It's a work in progress from an experience standpoint, and that's really all that we're focused on right now is just continue to get him the live reps so that he can see more. But all the physical qualities are there for him to be a factor in this league. And I think he's held his own. But there's going to be a lot of plays on tape where we're going to expect more. And a lot of that just comes from experience, And so he's got a really good group of guys around him. And he's going to continue to improve the more he plays.
Does the frequency at which quarterbacks have completed the passes so far, I don't know, concern you, or what do you make of it? It's 70%.
I think that it's what those completions are doing, and I would say that through 3 games they haven't done a lot. Explosions are how you lose in the NFL, and our guys have been outstanding with that. And we've also tackled the catch well. There hasn't been a lot of yards after the catch, which is something that is really important to us. So we've played a lot of base personnel where there's been a lot of design that's been engineered to go to the deep part of the field that hasn't. That's gotten checked down, which is what we want. Hey, a play that's designed for 40 that goes for 8, that's good for us, And so, we need to continue to make more plays outside. The more playmaking that we can get outside, to your point, I think the better that we're going to be from a takeaway perspective. And I think that that's what's been missing so far are those impact plays in the passing game, whether it's by a DB or a rusher. We haven't quite had those. And, I think the circumstances of the games have all tied into that. But, I think to really take our game to where it can go, we're definitely going to have to, impact the passing game more.
What do you make of just some of the times that y'all have made the play on third down to get off the field and then got the penalty that extends the drive? I think probably one in every game.
Yes.
How do you view that as a coordinator, play caller? Like, how do you try to eliminate that stuff? Does some of that stuff just happen in football? How do you view it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that as a team, we emphasize playing with technique and understand the situation as well as anybody as well as anywhere I've been personally. So the emphasis on playing with technique and understanding the situation is premium. And I think that we've learned that through the 3 games. This team that we're playing is a great example of it. They're number 1 in the NFL in scoring after a third down penalty. And so you can't give high-powered attacks, second chances. And so certainly that's where an element where we've fallen short in these 3 games, and I think our guys have seen it, and I think Kellen's done a great job of emphasizing it throughout, springtime, training camp, throughout these first 3 games. And I think our guys are seeing the margins in this league when it's tight. Those plays are going to make the difference, and all of us have to have shared ownership in it, and we're working hard to change it.
You guys will put linebackers a lot between the gaps. Does that add to the layer of disguise that you want to have in terms of just having them drop back and stuff? Does that kind of go toward trying to trick an offense?
Yeah, we're trying to change the look, make it tough on them. Like I said, pre-snap, pro-snap, trying to buy a count for whatever we're trying to do, but create some indecision. And then from identification standpoint, blocking and, running routes and from a quarterback's progression, again, just try to add that layer of tying things together, and hopefully it can create more opportunities for our players.
Time for one more.
We'll save it for next time.
Okay, guys, take care. All right, guys.
How we doing?
Can you share with us your evaluation and your perspective on run blocking so far through the first 3 games?
Well, obviously, we're not where we need to be. We're not where we want to be. So we got to do a better job as coaches, creating scheme advantages for our guys. And obviously, with the injuries we've had and some of the moving pieces, hopefully we can settle in and get some guys healthy and get some continuity up front. And then, we got to get it going.
And what does a guy like Trevor Penning, for instance, add to that run blocking scheme?
Well, obviously, the guy's played in a lot of games, and his physicality inside we're really excited about. And just to get him back in there, when he's ready, we'll be good.
Are you encouraged by what the running backs have been able to do after contact in particular, and kind of what stands out to you in that?
Well, like I said, I think, if you look at the whole body of work, we got a lot of work to do everywhere. So obviously, we need to show improvement each and every week, and that's going to be the biggest focus this week. We got to be better than we were last week, obviously.
How do you evaluate Spencer Rattler so far? He's been in a lot of compromised situations.
Yeah, I think Spencer's done a good job. Obviously, we are what we are right now, and we got to do a better job, like I said, of coaching. But the way he prepares every week, his process is right. He's done some good things. Obviously, there's some things that we can do better, too.
Alvin seems to be off to a strong start to the season with game flow being what it is. Everything. Just what stood out to you about his ability to run the football?
Well, he's, I think that's something that's been proven over time, and so obviously, like I said last week, the biggest thing is anytime we can get him touches and get him in space, that's a positive for us.
You guys haven't really used him in the screen game at all? Is there a philosophy behind that? You guys just prefer going to wide receivers on the screens, or?
Well, to be honest, we haven't thrown that many screens total when you look at the number that we've thrown. So I wouldn't say that there's been an emphasis to throw wide receiver screens versus tight end screens versus running back screens. It's something that we look for ways to implement each and every week, and obviously, it's a different way to get guys touches, from different spots, especially when you talk about the running back. So, obviously, we're always looking at ways to do that.
The tush push, run it twice, 2 penalties. Is that frustrating? Is that like a communication thing? Like how do you solve that?
Well, obviously, the pre-snap penalties that we've had in the first game and in the third game have been something that we've need to address. Obviously, it starts with us as coaches, and then the players got to take it to the field, because you can't have those kind of procedural errors in games and expect to win in this league. So that's something that we've got to get cleaned up as it pertains to the tush push. Obviously, get the false start on the one, and then they called us offsides on the other. So it is what it is.
The first one was he was just lined up too far forward.
You'll have to ask them the explanation for that.
It's been a 3-game sample size with the penalty issues at this point, especially on the offensive end. What consistencies have there been to lead to penalties?
Well, obviously, it's the pre-snap procedural errors that are the ones. I mean, you're going to have penalties in games. You're going to get called for holding. That happens. I mean, that's football. But the things that we control, we've got to do a better job of controlling them. Like I said, we got to coach better. I got to do a better job. All of our coaches have to do a better job, and then the players got to take it to the field. We got to be disciplined enough to stay on sides and know the snap count and get off together on the count.
One thing Spencer talked about after the game was the scramble part of the play and working on that. Like, how do you coach that with the players in terms of mirroring and that sort of thing?
Well, it's we drill it. We started back in the OTAs and drilling scramble drills and rules, and we do have a plan. Obviously, it becomes organized chaos, so to say, when it does occur, but we do have a map, so to say, and we teach the map of how we want it to work out and how the field should look once we get into and initiate a scramble phase. And we spend a lot of time working on it, so we've gone back, worked on it. Obviously, it's something that when you look in this league, especially when you look in the red zone and you look at the amount of touchdown passes that are thrown off schedule down there, it's something that's a big key to success.
Is Juwan Johnson a guy that y'all have intentionally focused on getting the ball to, or is he just kind of finding ways to make himself available? What stands out to you about what he's been able to do?
Well, obviously, we want to get the ball to Juwan. I mean, that's what he does well. He's, has great ability with size and speed and athleticism to catch the football. And like you say, I think in our system we do a good job of trying to, one, create ways to get guys the ball. Number two, there's ways that guys get the ball when they're not necessarily the primary or it's not where it's intended to go.
All right.
Thanks, guys.